Well, the good news I have for you today is really good news. It's about empty Jerusalem. Now, we've been in a series about the emptiness of Easter, and we've talked about the empty cross, the empty tomb, the empty grave clothes, the empty-hearted, the empty cups and plates, and today in the children's story you heard about the empty nest. Today we're going to look at empty Jerusalem. The tomb was empty, and Jerusalem is empty. And someone might think, well, wait a minute. How can you say Jerusalem was empty? Jerusalem has a population of about 750,000 people today. It couldn't possibly be empty. Even back in Christ's time, there's a population of about 80,000 in Jerusalem. And that population more than doubled during the feast days when people from the outlying areas would come to the temple in Jerusalem to celebrate a feast. Now, the Easter weekend, the very first Easter weekend, was the Passover weekend. And so Jerusalem probably had a couple hundred, maybe as many as 250,000 people at that time. We find that when Jesus was born, there was no room in the inn, and the same thing occurs when he dies. There's no room in Jerusalem. All the rooms are taken. Jesus Christ went from an empty womb to an empty tomb. We find that people came, no doubt many had to camp out because there was no room in the inn. They were there that weekend for a special thing, and something special, of course, did happen, but not what they expected. Jerusalem's travel industry was booming, especially during these feast days. You know, they didn't have airlines like we have today, but they still had hotels, and they still rented donkeys and other animals so that people could travel via animal. We know that their industry and the travel industry was booming, but beyond that, what was going on in Jerusalem? Well, of course, we know that weekend Jesus Christ died on Good Friday. He rested in the grave on what's called Black Saturday, and then he was raised on what today we call Resurrection Sunday or Easter Sunday. But something happened on that Good Friday that was really odd. And I want to just look at that for a moment today. The Bible tells us when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split and the tombs broke open and the bodies of many people who had died were raised to life. Now, we don't know anything about those people. The Bible doesn't give us any more information. We presume that they lived a normal life and died a second time. But nobody knows much about those people except that they were saints and they were raised to life, probably illustrating the whole concept of first fruits that you find in the Bible. That text is from Matthew 27, 50 to 54. What we see is that on that Good Friday, there were some really odd things going on. There was that 3 hours of darkness from about noon to 3 p.m. that surrounded Jerusalem. Then there was that earthquake. The Bible tells us there was an earthquake when Jesus died. And then the curtain was torn from the top to the bottom. And there was the resurrection of those saints. That was really odd. Who were those people anyway? We can only guess. But certainly it was odd to hear them talk about their experience in death. The darkness, the earthquake, the torn curtain, the resurrection. Well, right then and right there, even nature itself was saying, this is weird. This is really eerie. It was right there and right then that something very special happened.
To nowhere, everything I tried had turned out wrong. Seemed I lost a reason to get up every morning. I had lost all hope and lost my song. Circumstances said I wouldn't make it, but that was all before I met the man who put his arms around me. I heard him say forgiven, and I knew I'd never be the same again.